What if the ancients knew the future? 7 prophecies so accurate, they defy all logic and still shock the world today. Since the dawn of time, humans have sought glimpses of the future. Across cultures, prophets, sages, and ancient texts foretold events that seemed impossible to predict. Were they guided by divine visions, secret knowledge, or mere coincidence? In today's journey, we explore 7 ancient prophecies that actually came true. Some are chilling, some inspiring, and all of them raise one burning question: how did the ancients know? Stay with us, because the last prophecy may shock you the most. More than 2,500 years ago, the prophet Isaiah made a startling prediction. He declared that the mighty city of Babylon, the crown jewel of Mesopotamia, would one day fall and would never be rebuilt. At that time, Babylon was considered invincible. Its massive double walls were so thick that chariots could ride across the top. Its hanging gardens were one of the wonders of the ancient world, a symbol of power and wealth. To predict its destruction seemed unthinkable, even foolish. But in 539 BC, history took a shocking turn. Cyrus the Great of Persia devised a bold strategy. Instead of storming the city, he diverted the waters of the Euphrates River. His soldiers marched along the empty riverbed, bypassed the defenses, and entered the heart of Babylon almost without resistance. The city that was thought to be eternal fell in a single night, exactly as foretold. Even more mysterious, Babylon never regained its glory. Alexander the Great later dreamed of restoring it, yet his death halted the plan. Over centuries, the city crumbled into ruins. Today, its remains lie in modern Iraq, silent and deserted, just as Isaiah had written. Was this prophecy the result of political insight, or something beyond human understanding? For many, the accuracy of the prediction remains one of the most compelling mysteries in ancient history. Among the most astonishing prophecies comes from the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. Written centuries before the birth of Alexander the Great, it described the rise of a mighty king from the west, who would conquer swiftly like a leopard and strike down the great empire of Persia. The prophecy even mentioned that this ruler's kingdom would not last long, but be divided into 4 parts after his death. At the time, such predictions seemed impossible. Persia was the superpower of the world, and no one imagined a young outsider could topple it. Yet, in 334 BC, Alexander of Macedon crossed into Asia with a small but highly disciplined army. In just over a decade, he crushed the Persian Empire and built one of the largest empires in history. His speed of conquest earned him the title Alexander the Great. But just as the prophecy described, his empire did not endure. At the age of only 32, Alexander died suddenly in Babylon under mysterious circumstances. His generals, known as the Diadochi, split the empire into 4 major kingdoms, fulfilling Daniel's vision almost word for word. What makes this prophecy even more puzzling is the precision. How could anyone have foreseen not only the rise of a conqueror from the West, but also the exact fate of his empire? Skeptics argue that the book of Daniel may have been written after Alexander's death, while believers see it as undeniable evidence of divine foresight. One of the most chilling prophecies came from Jesus himself. According to the Gospels, he warned his followers that the great temple of Jerusalem, admired as the center of Jewish faith, would one day be torn down, stone by stone, with nothing left standing. To the people of that time, this sounded unthinkable. The temple was enormous, richly decorated, and protected within the strong walls of Jerusalem. For centuries, it had stood as the heart of Jewish life, the place where sacrifices and prayers connected heaven and earth. Yet only a few decades later, in 70 AD, the Roman Empire laid siege to Jerusalem under Emperor Vespasian and his son Titus. After months of brutal fighting, the Romans broke through and set fire to the temple. Ancient historians record that the heat melted the gold between the stones, and soldiers tore apart the walls to gather the treasure. By the time the destruction ended, the temple was reduced to rubble, just as foretold. What makes this prophecy so striking is the precision and timing. The temple had stood for centuries, yet within a single generation of the prophecy, it was gone. For believers, this event confirmed the divine truth of Jesus' words. For skeptics, it raises questions. Was it foresight or simply an observation of political tensions that made destruction inevitable? Either way, the fall of Jerusalem remains one of the most dramatic fulfillments of prophecy in ancient history. The ancient Maya of Central America were master astronomers and mathematicians. They developed one of the most sophisticated calendar systems in the ancient world, tracking solar, lunar, and planetary cycles with incredible accuracy. Among their writings was the famous Long Count calendar, which many believed predicted the end of an age on the 21st of December 2012. For years, modern people misinterpreted this as a prophecy of the world's end. But the truth is more complex and more mysterious. The Mayan system described great cycles of time, each lasting thousands of years, after which humanity would enter a new age. When researchers decoded the long count, they discovered it had correctly tracked astronomical events like solar eclipses and planetary alignments far into the future. The fact that such advanced calculations were made over 1,000 years ago has baffled historians and scientists alike. How could a pre-industrial civilization know the movements of the cosmos so precisely without telescopes? While 2012 passed without the apocalypse, some argue that the prophecy was never about destruction, but transformation. Indeed, that year marked rare celestial alignments. As the sun crossed the center of the Milky Way, a phenomenon the Maya recorded with uncanny precision. For many, this proves that the Maya were not predicting doom, but recognizing a cosmic shift in human consciousness. Their prophecies remind us that ancient wisdom sometimes holds truths that modern science only be. No discussion of prophecies is complete without mentioning Nostradamus, the 16th century French seer, whose cryptic verses continue to fascinate and terrify. In his famous book, Les Prophéties, Nostradamus wrote hundreds of quatrains that many believe foretold future events. While often vague and symbolic, some passages seem eerily accurate when compared to history. One of the most cited examples is his reference to a young lion who would defeat an older one in combat. Years later, King Henry II of France died in a jousting accident when a lance pierced his helmet and entered his eye, just as Nostradamus had described. Another chilling prophecy spoke of fire from the sky, destroying a great city. Many interpreters link this to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, when for the first time in history, nuclear fire rained down upon mankind. Nostradamus is also said to have predicted the rise of Napoleon, Adolf Hitler, and even the terror attacks of September 11. Whether coincidence, clever wording, or genuine foresight, his writings continue to be studied worldwide. Critics argue his verses are too vague, allowing anyone to match them to events after they happen. Yet the sheer number of apparent connections keeps his legend alive. More than 400 years after his death, Nostradamus remains one of the most famous prophets in history. Long before the Western Roman Empire collapsed, ancient prophets and philosophers warned that its glory would not last forever. In the book of Daniel, a vision describes a statue made of gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay, symbolizing successive empires that would rise and fall. The Fourth Empire, represented by iron mixed with clay, was said to be strong yet divided, destined to break apart. Many historians and believers interpret this as a prophecy of Rome. For centuries, Rome seemed unstoppable. Its armies conquered Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Roads, aqueducts, and mighty architecture proclaimed the eternal strength of the empire. The Romans themselves called their city Roma Aeterna, or Eternal Rome. But by the 4th and 5th centuries, AD, cracks began to appear. Civil wars, economic collapse, corruption, and relentless invasions weakened the empire from within and without. Finally, in 476 AD, the last Roman emperor in the West was overthrown, and the empire dissolved into fragments exactly as foretold. What makes this prophecy remarkable is not only the prediction of Rome's fall, but the description of how it would happen. The vision of an empire, both strong and fragile, destined to shatter into pieces, perfectly fits the fate of Rome. To this day, historians debate whether this was divine foresight or simply a keen observation of human nature, that no empire, no matter how powerful, can last forever. In the early 20th century, one of the most famous modern prophecies emerged, not from an ancient scroll, but from a small village in Portugal. In 1917, 3 shepherd children in Fatima claimed to have visions of the Virgin Mary. Over several months, she reportedly revealed 3 secrets, later known as the Prophecies of Fatima. These secrets stun the Catholic world and continue to spark debate even today. The first 2 visions spoke of World War I ending soon, followed by an even greater war if humanity did not turn back to faith. Astonishingly, just 2 decades later, World War II erupted, the deadliest conflict in history. The second prophecy also warned of Russia spreading its errors across the world, which many linked to the rise of communism after the Russian Revolution. The third secret, kept hidden by the Vatican until the year 2000, described a vision of a bishop in white being attacked and struck down. Many interpret this as the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II in 1981, an event he himself believed was connected to the prophecy. What makes the Fatima revelations extraordinary is not just their accuracy, but the global attention they received. Thousands of witnesses reported seeing the miracle of the sun, where the sun appeared to dance in the sky. Were these events divine warnings, psychological phenomena, or something else entirely? Whatever the explanation, the prophecies of Fatima remain one of the most mysterious and compelling cases of fulfilled. So, which of these 7 prophecies amazed you the most? Were they divine messages or just coincidences shaped by history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of time, join us on Chronicle Voyage for more stories where history and legend collide. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Your voyage into the unknown has only just begun.